Willpower Doesn't Work, by Benjamin Hardy. Introduction. Imagine a young man, let's call him Matt. A few years ago, Matt had everything going for him. He was in a beautiful marriage, on the fast track to his dream job, the kind of person you look at and think, he's got it all figured out. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, things started to change. A new friend, Eric, entered his life. Their hangouts were harmless enough, a few hours a week playing video games, watching movies, eating junk food. Just chilling. But this seemingly harmless friendship was a subtle poison. You see, Eric was cynical. He was the kind of person who, deep down, didn't like himself, and so he found a quiet satisfaction in pulling others down to his level. Over months, then years, Matt started to change. It wasn't dramatic. It was a slow boil. A little more sarcasm here, a pessimistic comment about his own wife there. The wallpaper on his phone, once a picture of his family, became something his wife and kids shouldn't see. To an outsider, looking in every 6 months, the changes were stark. But to Matt, living it day by day, they were invisible. He was a frog in slowly warming water, unaware of the danger until it was too late. Eventually, the life he was building crumbled. His marriage ended, his career prospects vanished. He had become a product of his environment, all while believing he was in complete control. Matt's story is a quiet tragedy that plays out in millions of lives. We try to change, we set goals, we make New Year's resolutions. We summon all our grit, our inner strength, our willpower, and we fail. And after failing enough times, it's easy to conclude that we are the problem. That we just don't have what it takes. But what if that entire premise is wrong? Today, we're diving into a book that turns that idea on its head. It's called Willpower Doesn't Work by organizational psychologist Benjamin Hardy. This isn't just another self-help book. It's a radical re-examination of what it takes to succeed in a world that is actively designed to make you fail. Hardy proposes a revolutionary idea. The secret to changing your life isn't found by looking inward and trying harder. It's found by looking outward and changing the world around you. By the end of our time together, you will understand the hidden forces that shape your every decision, and I promise you, you will never look at your bedroom, your friends, or your smartphone in the same way again. This is the secret to making success not just possible, but inevitable. Book summary. For decades, we've been told a very specific story about success. It's a story of heroes, of rugged individuals who, through sheer force of will, bend the world to their vision. We're taught to focus on ourselves, to build more grit, more discipline, more willpower. The American Psychological Association even found that a lack of willpower is the #1 reason people cite for not achieving their goals. It's become the cornerstone of self-improvement. But there's a fundamental flaw in this thinking. Willpower, as Benjamin Hardy explains, is like a muscle. It's a finite resource that gets exhausted with use. Think about your day. From the moment you wake up, you're making decisions. You resist hitting the snooze button. You say no to the donut in the break room. You force yourself to focus on a boring report instead of checking YouTube. Each of those decisions depletes your willpower. By the end of the day, your willpower muscle is exhausted, leaving you defenseless against late-night cravings and mindless distractions. Trying to white-knuckle your way through life is like trying to hold your breath indefinitely. Eventually, you have to give in. This is why New Year's resolutions so often fail by February. It's not because you're weak, it's because you're relying on a strategy that was doomed from the start. The very need to use willpower means you are in a state of internal conflict. Part of you wants to be healthy, but another part wants the cookie. This internal battle is exhausting, And it's a battle you will eventually lose if the environment around you is constantly tempting you with that cookie. So, if willpower isn't the answer, what is? The historian Will Durant, after spending over 40 years studying the entire scope of human history, came to a surprising conclusion. He found that history wasn't shaped by great men, but by demanding situations. It was necessity, he realized, that was the single most important ingredient for greatness. An ordinary person's ability could be doubled if the situation demanded it. This is the central truth of Hardy's book. We are all products of our environment. But here's the empowering part. We have the power to choose and shape that environment. You don't need more willpower. You need to create conditions where willpower becomes irrelevant. Think about the evolution of motocross. In the 1990s, the backflip was considered impossible, something you'd only see in a video game. The best riders in the world had all the willpower and passion you could imagine, but they couldn't do it. Then, in 2002, a rider named Caleb Wyatt successfully landed one. Suddenly, the impossible became possible. The environment of the sport changed. A new standard was set. Just a few years later, in 2014, a 10-year-old boy named Jason Roney landed a backflip. Was he more capable than the legends of the 90s? No. He simply grew up in a world where backflips were the norm. His environment shaped his perception of what was possible, and so he did it. Your environment is constantly setting the rules for your life, whether you realize it or not. This is a concept called the Pygmalion effect. The expectations of those around you establish your own personal expectations. To illustrate this, Hardy shares a fascinating, if slightly unsettling story about training fleas. If you place a group of fleas in a jar, they can easily jump out. But if you put a lid on that jar, they quickly learn to stop jumping so high. They hit their heads a few times and adapt to the new rule. Here's the incredible part. After 3 days, you can remove the lid, and the fleas will never jump out again. An invisible barrier, a mental cap, has been created in their collective consciousness. What's more, the next generation of fleas, born inside that jar, will adopt the same limiting expectations as their parents, never knowing they are capable of jumping higher. Most of us are living in a jar with an invisible lid, our potential capped by the environment we've accepted as normal. We are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And it goes deeper. We are also the average of the 5 people they spend time with. If your friend's friend gains weight, your own chances of gaining weight go up dramatically. It's a secondary connection that you never see coming, but it influences you all the same. Your potential is shaped by what surrounds you. Garbage in, garbage out. The good news is, you can choose your jar. You can choose your influences. This isn't about nature versus nurture. Your nurture is your nature. And you are in charge of your nurture. So how do we begin to consciously design our environment? Hardy argues that human beings evolved to thrive in 2 specific types of enriched environments: environments of high stress and environments of high recovery. And the key is to cycle between them. The first is an environment of positive stress, or eustress. This is where you are challenged, where you are pushed beyond your current limits. This is the gym where you lift heavier weights than before. This is the project that forces you to learn a new skill. The second, and perhaps more important in our modern world, is an environment of deep recovery. This is where you truly unplug, reset, and recharge. Growth doesn't happen during the stress, it happens during the rest that follows. Unfortunately, most of us live in a third, unenriched state, a state of constant, low-level distraction. We are never fully on, and we are never fully off. We are semi-present at work, thinking about home, and semi-present at home, thinking about work, all while our smartphones keep us in a state of perpetual alert. This is survival mode, and it's a recipe for burnout and mediocrity. The first step to escaping this trap is to master the art of recovery. This starts by creating what Hardy calls a peak experience. A peak experience is a moment of heightened clarity and inspiration, often happening when you are completely removed from your daily routine. It's the profound insight you get while traveling, or the life-changing decision you make on a quiet weekend retreat. These moments are crucial because they allow you to see your life from a bird's-eye view, to see the forest for the trees. You can't make powerful decisions for your future when you're stuck in the frantic energy of your present. You have to get away. It could be a week-long vacation like Bill Gates's famous Think Weeks, where he would isolate himself just to read and think, generating his best ideas for Microsoft. Or it could simply be a disconnected day, where you drive 30 minutes out of town, turn off your phone, and spend time with your journal. The journal is key. It's where you solidify the insights you gain during these peak states. It's where you reconnect with your why and write down your big picture dreams, not as vague hopes, but as concrete plans. When you make decisions from this elevated state, they carry a power and conviction that decisions made in the rush of daily life simply cannot match. Once you've set your new direction from a peak state, you need a daily system to keep you on course. Think of your life like an airplane. A plane is actually off course 90% of the time, buffeted by winds and turbulence. It reaches its destination because the pilot is constantly making small course corrections. Your daily morning routine is your guidance system. Its purpose is to put you back into that peak state every single day, to remind you of the person you have decided to become. Most people start their day reactively. They grab their smartphone, and immediately they are sucked into other people's agendas, emails, notifications, social media feeds. This sets them up for a day of distraction. A powerful morning routine, however, is proactive. It puts first things first. The most essential part of this routine is, again, your journal. For just 5 to 15 minutes, first thing in the morning, you write down your goals. Not as something you hope to do, but as something you will do. I will make $100,000 by December 31st. I will run a marathon by June 1st. Writing them down daily trains your subconscious mind to find a way to make them happen. This ritual is best performed in what Hardy calls a sacred space. This doesn't have to be a temple on a mountain. It just needs to be a place that is personal to you, a place that triggers a state of clarity. For Hardy, it's his car, parked in a quiet neighborhood before he goes to the gym. For the comedian Jim Carrey, when he was broke and struggling, it was the top of a hill overlooking Los Angeles. Every night, he would drive up there and visualize his success. It was there, in his sacred space, that he famously wrote himself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered, dated it 5 years in the future, and put it in his wallet. Just before that date in 1995, he was paid $10 million for the movie Dumb and Dumber. He created his future by repeatedly connecting with it in his sacred environment. Now, once you've made a powerful decision, the next step is crucial, and it's where most people fail. You must ruthlessly eliminate everything from your environment that conflicts with that decision. Hardy calls this subtraction, and he uses a brilliant metaphor from the movie Interstellar. To escape a black hole's massive gravitational pull, the astronauts know their ship's rockets aren't powerful enough on their own. The only way to break free is to lighten the load by detaching part of the ship. Everything in your life, your physical possessions, your relationships, your distractions, is exerting a gravitational pull, keeping you in your current orbit. To break free, you don't need more rocket fuel willpower. You need to lighten the load. This means cleaning out your closet, removing unhealthy food from your kitchen, and getting rid of the apps on your phone that are wasting your time. If junk food is in your house, you will eventually eat it. Willpower doesn't work. The decision must be made once, at the grocery store, not 100 times a day in your kitchen. This also means eliminating bad options. The psychologist Barry Schwartz, in his book The Paradox of Choice, explains that having more options leads to indecision and weak commitments. Success isn't about taking 20 steps in 20 different directions, it's about taking 20 steps in one direction. You must embrace the opportunity cost and let go of the fear of missing out. Most painfully, this sometimes means eliminating, or at least setting firm boundaries with, people who hold you back. As the saying goes, if you live with a lame man, you will learn to limp. Beyond removing things, you must also change your default options. Most of us are operating on autopilot, triggered by our environment. The key is to make your desired choices the easiest choices. Rutgers University saved over 7 million sheets of paper in a single semester simply by making double-sided printing the default option in their computer labs. The students didn't have to try to be more environmentally conscious, the environment did the work for them. What are your defaults? Is your phone your default for every spare moment of boredom? Put it in the glove box when you drive. Is television your default for unwinding at night? Remove it from the bedroom. This idea of defaults is critical for understanding addiction. The famous rat park studies from the 1970s revolutionized our view on this. When a rat was placed alone in a small cage with 2 water bottles, one with regular water and one with drug-laced water, it almost always became addicted and drank until it died. But when Bruce Alexander built Rat Park, a large stimulating colony with toys, cheese, and other rats to play with, the rats almost never touched the drugged water. They had better things to do. Their environment was so enriching that the addiction had no appeal. This tells us something profound. The opposite of addiction isn't sobriety, it's connection. It's having meaningful relationships and a life you want to be present for. Our modern environment is designed to isolate us, making us vulnerable to all kinds of addictions, technology, stimulants, work. The way out is not to fight the addiction, but to build a better park. So far, we focused on creating environments for rest and recovery. But to achieve great things, you also need to build environments of positive stress, arenas that force you to perform at your highest level. This is where Hardy introduces the powerful concept of forcing functions. A forcing function is a self-imposed constraint that makes your desired behavior mandatory. There are 5 key types of forcing functions. First is high investment. When you have skin in the game, your commitment level skyrockets. Hardy tells the story of a 17-year-old who wanted to sell shoes. He and his friend invested $10,000 in inventory. In his own words, once we had all of our money in, it was all or nothing. That really scared me. I had to sell the shoes. You couldn't turn back. That investment was his point of no return. It changed his identity from a wannabe to a business owner. Second is social pressure. When you make a public commitment, you feel an obligation to be consistent. If you want to run a marathon, register for the race, announce it on social media, and find a running partner. You'll be far more likely to train on the days you feel weak because you don't want to let others down. Third is high consequence for poor performance. Michael Phelps can't afford to eat poorly or skip a training session, because the immediate drop in his performance could be the difference between a gold medal and not placing at all. When you're operating at a mediocre level, there's room for error, so you make them. Raise the stakes for yourself. Fourth is high difficulty. We mistakenly believe that happiness is the absence of a load, but it's the load that gives us the traction to move forward. Hardy shares an analogy of a man whose truck gets stuck in deep snow. He can't get out. Finally, he gets the idea to start cutting firewood and loading it into the back of the truck. The heavy load of the wood provides the traction needed to get out of the snow. Becoming a foster parent, Hardy admits, was the substantial load he needed to get traction in his writing career. And fifth is novelty. When you do things you've never done before, your brain is forced to be more engaged. The author and entrepreneur Ari Meisel structures his work week so that he never works in the same place 2 days in a row. Mondays are for deep, creative work in a dark, quiet co-working space with no cell service. Tuesdays are for high-energy sales calls at his partner's bright, social apartment. Each environment is optimized to trigger the mental state needed for that day's work. This rotation keeps his mind fresh and his performance high. The ultimate forcing function is to compete with people far above your current skill level. Josh Waitzkin, the chess prodigy and martial arts champion, calls this investing in failure. While his classmates would practice with people at their own level to avoid losing, Waitzkin would intentionally train with those who were far more skilled. He would get beaten over and over again. But this process compressed his learning curve, allowing him to absorb the skills of his superiors at a rapid rate. Don't make decisions based on your current circumstances. Make them based on where you desire to be. As you grow and leap from one challenging environment to the next, there's one final, crucial piece of wisdom: never forget where you came from. Hardy tells the story of Pina Mutsi, a young girl from the largest slum in Uganda who became a national chess champion. As she began to succeed, she was exposed to a world of comfort and opportunity she never knew existed, and for a time, she felt disconnected from her family and her home. But she didn't let her past stop her from where she was going, nor did she let her success make her forget her roots. She used her new position to lift her entire family out of the slums. Research shows that children who know more about their family's history, the ups and the downs, have higher self-esteem and are more resilient in the face of challenges. Knowing your story gives you a sense of being part of something larger than yourself. So, as you evolve, honor your past. Be grateful for the challenges that shaped you and the people who helped you along the way. Remember that your success is not yours alone. It is the product of your environment, an environment you can now consciously shape for yourself and for others. You are not fixed. You are fluid. And no matter where you are right now, you can change. Commentary. As we close our journey through Willpower Doesn't Work, what strikes me most is its profound sense of empowerment. For so long, the narrative around self-improvement has been one of internal struggle. It's a message that, if you think about it, is subtly disempowering. It implies that if you're failing, there's something inherently wrong with you. You lack the grit, the discipline, the willpower. This book offers a powerful antidote to that self-blame. It shifts the focus from fixing yourself to designing your world. It's a message of liberation. It tells you that you're not a broken machine that needs fixing. You're a perfectly functioning organism that is simply in the wrong ecosystem. Change the ecosystem, and you will naturally, inevitably, change. The most powerful lesson for me is the idea of forcing functions. It's such a simple, elegant concept that cuts through all the noise of motivation hacks and productivity tips. Instead of trying to motivate yourself to go to the gym, what if you simply paid a personal trainer for 3 months in advance? Instead of trying to resist checking social media, what if you just deleted the apps from your phone? These aren't acts of willpower. They are acts of wisdom. They are single decisions that make thousands of future decisions irrelevant. It's about being a brilliant architect of your life, rather than a tireless laborer within it. You set up the conditions for success once, and then you let the environment do the heavy lifting. This brings us to what you can do today to put these ideas into practice. First, perform an environmental audit. Tonight, before you go to bed, take a look around your bedroom. Ask yourself a simple question. What behavior is this room designed for? Is it designed for restful sleep, or is it a multi-purpose entertainment center with a TV, a laptop, and a smartphone buzzing on the nightstand? Make one small change. Move your phone charger to the kitchen. That simple act is a forcing function. It creates a small amount of friction that makes it easier to do the right thing, to disconnect and rest. Second, identify your biggest willpower drain. What is the one thing you spend the most mental energy resisting every day? Is it the snacks in the pantry? The social media notifications? The temptation to procrastinate on a big project? Your mission is to make one decision that eliminates that battle. Don't just resist the snacks, remove them. Don't just ignore the notifications, turn them off at the source. Don't just fight procrastination, create a forcing function, like Dan Martell, who leaves his laptop's power cord at home so he has to finish his work before the battery dies. Finally, and most importantly, understand that this is not a journey you take alone. The book makes it clear that connection is the antidote to the destructive forces in our modern world. Reach out to one person who represents the future you want, not the past you're trying to escape. Ask them for advice. Join a group, whether it's a running club, a book club, or a professional mastermind. Place yourself in an environment where the standards are higher than your own. You will adapt. You will rise. Because as this book so brilliantly teaches us, we are not defined by our willpower, but by the world we choose to inhabit. That was the summary of Willpower Doesn't Work by Benjamin Hardy. We've covered the core principles today, but I'll be honest with you, a summary is like looking at a photograph of a grand feast. You can see what's on the table, but you can't taste the food. The real magic happens when you read the book for yourself. It's in the quiet moments, when a particular story or a simple phrase hits you in a way you didn't expect. This summary is designed to help you decide if this book is worth your time. If anything we've talked about today has sparked something in you, I urge you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning, it's an experience that can genuinely change how you architect your daily life. The link to the book is in the description. Also, if you found this summary valuable, please click that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue to explore the great books on the billionaire's bookshelf, and ensures you won't miss our next journey into another life-changing text. Let's keep growing together.